Oh, hello, I'm Colleen Nicoll, and I've lived in Kirkby for 10 years. I suppose an abiding passion is embroidery, which I've done for, well, since I was tiny. My mum used to have a draper's shop, and I think that's where it probably started. I did City and Guild, 4 years City and Guild embroidery at Huddersfield, and loved every minute of it, all the different techniques that embroidery encompasses. And I still embroider and enjoy it. I'm a member of 2 guilds, the York Embroiderers Guild and also the Ryedale branch, which meets at Relton Village Hall. So we're still embroidering.
We'll talk about the groups that you go to in a minute, but perhaps you could start off by, I mean, I've got a very limited understanding of embroidery,
yes,
and perhaps quite a few people watching this video will have too, so perhaps you could sort of enlighten us. You've got some examples around you, the type of...
What did surprise me when I started doing City and Guild is that people think of embroidery as tablecloths and pillar slips and the sort of thing they did many years ago, which is can be long and short stitch, or it can be drawn thread or whatever. And I hadn't realised that it encompasses all black work and canvas work, so many. I mean, I'll bring up, can I bring something up now? This would be looking at black work, and we would look at the traditional black work, which would have all the patterns, and the black work which would come over with Anne Boleyn and the traditional patterns. But then we would have to push it further, and we would have to look at something black and white and perhaps sketch a picture of something black and white. These are some old clogs that my son had when he was about 3, and then produce it as a modern piece of black work. So although you're looking at one technique and how it used to be, you're also pushing yourself forward to try it with something else. Another area is canvas work, and we were looking at canvas work. What this can be, this is actually using a box of eggs as the design source, and if you look carefully you'll see the chosen piece and how I've reversed it and made a pattern, and then I've begun to work out samples of gold threads and things on canvas, and eventually ended up with a small purse, which could have been a bag or a book cover or anything. This held spectacles and what have you. But the design source had come from cracked eggs.
That's amazing.
So, you know, it's just looking. And this particular one here, this is a strange one. This is called paper bag printing. And if you think of old little bags that you often buy sweets or things in, or a card, it has a residue of dye, and ironing it onto something like this rather cheap rayon, the dye is still there, so you can make patterns from this and then embroider it or quilt it or do what you want. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is embroidery isn't just tablecloths. It's having a bit of fun, pushing it to the limits, perhaps using dyed threads or whatever, and just enjoying it.
So the kind of things that you're doing now with embroidery are probably very different to what you might have been doing 10 years ago.
They might have been. I would bring them forward. I mean, this lazy daisy stitch, everybody will remember the lazy daisy stitches that we all had on tablecloths and things like that, and we probably did them at school. I've just gone berserk with lazy daisy here, and somebody gave me a bag of buttons, and I thought, well, I'd like to use the buttons in the middle of the lazy daisies. So this is just a cheese box with a cover on, and I would probably help some of the children up at the Ryedale Folk Museum to have a go at doing a lazy daisy stitch, you see, so they enjoy doing that. But that's using the old methods, the old embroidery methods, and bringing it forward and saying, well, how can I use it? What can I do with it?
So what have you got in your hand there?
This one here. This is a jester. Apart from the Embroiderers Guild, I'm also a member of the York Dolly Birds, which sounds pretty exciting.
Is that for ladies only?
No, you can join, Gareth. We'd be really pleased. Come along with your stitching and have some ideas. It would be lovely. And we meet at York actually, and we make rather strange dolls. Some of them you can get a pattern, somebody's designed them and you buy a pattern and you can make it to your own design, or you can just go wild and do your own thing really. I mean, we did have a little, shall I bring Camilla in here?
Yes, bring Camilla in.
We did have a little bit of fun, I think it was a year or two back, when our tutor said, I'll give you the pattern, but I'm not telling you what she looks like. Just make it and think cellulite. And I thought, well, I know I have some fabric that's a bit like cellulite. And I made the doll and I couldn't understand. She kept asking, it kept saying something about a frill. When I took it into the Embroiderers Guild and I said, well, I've made it, I don't know whether that's supposed to be what it is. They all burst into laughter, because apparently this portion here where her boobs are and round here, which should have been a swimming costume. And here's one that somebody had made, and that was really how she should have looked. So I'd rather upset her. but she's now quite a member. We call her Camilla, and she's our very own calendar girl at the WI.
Fantastic.
And we take her everywhere.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
She's caused a bit of hilarity.
I bet she has. And who's this lovely character down here that you're just
Well, he's a bit like a hobbit, isn't he? He's a bit Frodo-ish. And there was another head. I wasn't sure which head to put on. But you see, we'll do a head with ears and a fancy nose, and then you can put anything on for his hair. This is sort of a fleece, dyed fleece, but this is wool that's all knobbly. So you could have him on, but I think he's rather nice with this one. And again, he's got lazy daisy stitch. I do like lazy daisies, so that's Frodo.
And this is amazing because, again, it's really moving away from the kind of stereotypical idea of what, for me anyway, for what embroidery is. It's so much more, isn't it?
Well, some people don't. Some people go to our guild and might like to do cross-stitch, and that's as far as they want to go, and that's great. And they do cross-stitch pictures, and that's wonderful, and it's relaxing. Other people do something called hardhanger or pulled thread, and that's what they like to do. And that's the thing that they've found and that turns them on and that's exciting. I like different things. I like to try different ideas.
Well, what you obviously put a huge amount of work into creating all these beautiful things. What opportunities do you have to show the rest of the area? You know, apart from the members of the groups.
Yes.
Do you go to any shows?
Yes, occasionally we have. Well, I'm a secretary of the Ryedale WI tent when it's at the show, the Ryedale show. So we do have opportunity there to put things in. We have competitions. There's the horticultural show here in Kirkby has a handicraft section, so you could put something in there if you wanted. Sometimes the WI, we've just had a 90th birthday, and we had an exhibition of crafts in the Methodist room. So there's opportunities coming up, and I think sometimes, I'm glad I didn't throw that away, because you know, they're coming up. And like today, you know, yes, you've come along, and perhaps it's a good job I didn't throw it all in a skip, isn't it?
Oh, I'm sure it would never end up in a skip. No, it's absolutely wonderful. So what about somebody who might be thinking about starting off doing embroidery, and they live in Kirkbymoorside? What's the best thing to do?
Well, I can't think of any groups at the moment that are running as embroidery groups, but if they want it to come along to Relton Village Hall, the last Saturday in the month, that's where the Ryedale Embroiderers Guild meet. They meet all day. They start about, I think it's 10 o'clock, and we have a sort of stitch session in the morning where people are doing all sorts of different embroidery. They then have the lunch, and in the afternoon we invite a speaker to come along to talk about some aspect of embroidery. If they just want it to come along to just see what it was like, and they don't have to join for 2 or 3 times, they can come along as a visitor, and that might be an idea of seeing how they feel about it and whether they'd like to come along. I mean, we have a lady there who teaches beadwork. I think she does teach occasionally in Kirkby, but certainly we could talk about what was available.
And if somebody came along again with not very much experience of doing embroidery, are other members of the group happy to help out and give advice?
Very much so, yes, very much so. They're very pleased if people come along and they can walk around and see what everybody's doing and ask whatever they want to ask. And yes, they are.
Great.
Yes, they will.
So what's on the agenda for you? I see you've got quite a collection there on the table.
Yes,
what's the next thing?
I've been asked by the WI, will I go to Carlton Towers next Wednesday? There's a big exhibition going along of different craft works, and they said would I go along and demonstrate dolly making. So I've got all my dollies on the table and I'm sort of deciding what to do and what to take with me.
Colleen, thank you ever so much. It's been fascinating.
That's fine, nice to have met you.